players. Like this
So
is
part of the
like
so part of the setting in some of these principles that you're talking about is progression. What example do you have of a
yeah.
good progression that you can incorporate for a young kid, both fundamentally and psychologically, from the time that they start getting serious about hitting, somewhat serious with mechanics, 30 minutes a day, as you mentioned, at the age of 8 or 9 years old, all the way up until Reagan Paulina, for example, one of your students who's in college.
Yeah. Progression. So,
Yeah.
and it becomes part of their routine. The progression becomes part of the routine.
Mm-hmm.
So with a young kid that is just working, I take one thing, I look at their swing and I evaluate it and I say, okay, typically young kids move okay. You know, their lower body's okay because it's natural. If you look at old stickball pictures of kids in the streets of New York,
Yeah.
or Dominicans, Venezuelans, whatever, 5-6-year-old kids, a lot of times their footwork and their lower body is very good. And so that's usually the case. If you have a kid take a stride, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Unless you teach them something weird, or unless they're opposite handed, because they play catch, they throw things, they throw rocks, hopefully they throw snowballs, they throw things like that. And when you step and throw in a throwing motion, it's very similar to a stride when we're hitting. So I'll figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do, Johnny, 8-year-old. I want you to do bottom hand drills, very basic. We're not going to use our legs. And this is what the academy is made for, by the way, is progression. Because I say, I want you to do this drill, this drill, this drill, this many reps. Mm-hmm. So here's your bottom hand drill. I want you to do 20 of those. I want you to do 20 with the top hand. That one's dicey. Okay. That one can go either way. Sometimes I remove that. And then 20 with two hands. And then maybe we'll do like a 50% swing to contact, something like that. And then I have them video those. I have the dad or mom video those swings to make sure they're doing it correctly. And they're typically not. So after a couple of days, they send me swings of the videos and it's not correct. So they've only taken a couple hundred. I say, okay, we're doing okay here, but you need to work on this, this, and this more to master those swings. Then a few days later, they send me a swing. Okay, now we're better. Then I'll get them to take a few hundred of those over the next couple of weeks, and then I'll slowly implement more advanced moves. So my online academy is like my own brain in regular lessons. I'm going to give somebody something until they master it. You've reached mastery on your footwork. Now we're going to do something more difficult. Okay, your bottom hand looks good. Now we're going to go to the top hand. Your top hand looks good. We'll go to two hands. Sometimes those are week-long segments between bottom hand and top hand. Sometimes they're 3 swing segments. So we have a start and we have a finish. How quickly we move along that road depends on the player's competency level. So where somebody like Paulina that was just in, I taught him how to do this. Within 5 or 6 swings, he was able to do it. And then I gave him something more difficult. And then it would be tough for him. And I'd go back and then I'd go forward and then he would master it. And then yada, 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 we move through mechanics, and then we're working on timing, and we're working on rhythm, and we're working on the mental side, and we're working on taking a certain portion of the plate and attacking that portion and taking everything else. We're working on that. So I would say from beginning to end, we start with bottom hand drill. That's probably the easiest, most basic, most fundamentally important move. And then it finishes with pitch selection. It finishes with plate discipline. And then we just figure out how long we get there. And in the process, I have all my players do their warm-up routine of bottom hand, 5 bottom hand, 5 top hand, 5 two hand with no legs, couple contact drills, and then boom, let it rip. And that's their warm-up, whether they're 10 years old or whether they're 25 years old.